When we first meet Jacob and Esau in the biblical story, they are fighting. And the first major story that we have with them involves Jacob tricking Esau out of his birthright and then having to run. And he goes through several adventures, and eventually, in this week's Torah portion, he meets at night a mysterious stranger, wrestles with him, and seemingly then is a changed person, able to meet with Esau and finally reconcile with him. Except the rabbis, unsurprisingly because they argue a lot, argue over whether there really is a reconciliation. Because we know that Jacob seems to have changed, but we don't know how Esau has or hasn't changed. And so when we see the reconnection, the meeting of Jacob and Esau, it says in the Torah that Esau embraced Jacob and kissed him, which seems pretty straightforward. But the rabbis aren't convinced. Some of the rabbis wonder whether Esau is really sincere in this. Others argue that there is an ambiguity in the wording where the embrace isn't a loving embrace, but more of a painful bear hug. And the kiss is not a kiss, but really more of an attacking bite. But there's another commentary, a slightly odd commentary, that provides a different idea, perhaps. The Masoretes, the people who created the system of the vowels and the cantillation from where we get all the chanting that we traditionally do for the chanting of the Torah, sometimes added interesting little elements to their marks on the Torah. And here, above the words that we read about him embracing and kissing Jacob, they have a series of dots. And there's no clear indication as to what that actually means. But perhaps what it's intended to show is that there's not a clear and definitive answer to whether or not Jacob and Esau truly reconciled at this point. Perhaps it's there to remind us that unlike so much of our modern life where we expect, sometimes with great disappointment, immediate gratification and complete resolution, total closure for all of our conflicts, all of our challenges, all of the issues we have in life, that actually life is always more ambiguous. That we have to recognize that Esau could both still hate his brother and want reconciliation. That Esau could still be all the things he was, and Jacob could still be all the things he was, all the good and the bad, and still be able to reconcile even with their imperfections, even with that ambiguity. And so perhaps as we look at a world with so much division, where we find so much division online, in families, in friends, in society in general, perhaps it's important to learn from this reconciliation, that we can reconcile, we can reconnect without fully resolving everything, that's a process, that it involves recognizing ambiguity and imperfection in ourselves and each other. And only when we do all that, and only when we have the patience to do that over the long term, may we eventually be able to truly resolve our differences and truly reconcile and truly find closure.